Welcome to Permission to Thrive. I'm your host, Suzi Lula. As a spiritual therapist for over 20 years, I have the honor and privilege of ushering women and mothers just like you on a journey from simply surviving to powerfully thriving. I also have the honor of raising our son, Will, who is now a young adult, with my longtime partner, Jamie, so I'm right there on the journey with you. Consider this your personal sanctuary, your space to meet your heart, embrace your messy, and come home to your most authentic, extraordinary self. My hope is that you leave resourced and inspired because you are here to shine. Welcome to Permission to Thrive. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Permission to Thrive. Today's episode is dedicated to you if you are moving through a challenge or a struggle or any kind of conflict in your life, in your relationships. Today's episode is for you. Whoever needs to hear this, today's episode is for you. I'm calling it From Flicker to Flame, From Darkness to Light. We are not often taught how to be present with ourselves in the darkness and then move ourselves from the darkness and usher ourselves into the light. And so today I'm going to be assisting us with how to be present with ourselves, with whatever challenges we might be experiencing, and simultaneously, how to be present with ourselves, how to walk with ourselves over that bridge from the darkness when we're not yet into the light, and how to create that tipping point that will get us into the light. So sit back, relax, receive. There's nothing for you to do here. Just allow yourself to receive. So obviously, I have called this podcast Permission to Thrive. I am obsessed with assisting you to create a life where you are blossoming, where you are flourishing. And it's very easy to feel that you're thriving when everything is going well in your outer life. And what I've come to know in working with so many clients and thousands of students is that the true key to thriving is to learn how to be with yourself when things aren't going well, how to usher yourself from that darkness into the light, how to be with yourself in your own darkness, how to usher yourself into your own light. We often feel so alone, so lonely. We can feel isolated. We can feel like an island. We can feel like we are the only one when we are experiencing darkness. We can feel so cut off from our own light, and then we can feel so cut off from others. And we can often just feel like I must be the only one experiencing this intensity, this energy, this darkness, these emotions, this discomfort. And then not only are we then experiencing pain, but that pain becomes suffering because we feel like we're the only ones and we don't know how to be with our own pain. You've probably all heard the saying, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. The soul understands pain. The soul knows that pain is a part of the physical world, and the soul is at peace with the pain. Suffering is when you are not at peace with the pain. And so often when we experience pain and discomfort and conflict and struggle, and then we have been taught either to resist it or to judge ourselves for what we are experiencing, we then isolate ourselves and feel disconnected and feel alone and lonely and isolated. And this just moves us from experiencing the pain already into a state of suffering. And so if you are challenged right now in any area of your life, if you are challenged with a particular relationship, it could be your relationship to yourself, a relationship with your own body, a relationship with your own finance, or a relationship with one of your children, a spouse, a partner, your boss, a coworker, a friend, your career. It could be that you are challenged with a healing that you are seeking, with past trauma or past experiences that you are seeking to heal. Whatever challenges you are experiencing right now, whatever, quote, darkness you are experiencing right now, I call that a knot in consciousness. We're tangled. You're experiencing a tangle. You're experiencing a knot in your consciousness, a knotted energy. And so today we are learning how to untangle our own knotted consciousness, untangle the knots in our consciousness. We have been taught to try to avoid and resist those knots in consciousness because they feel uncomfortable. And we have been taught to resist and avoid the uncomfortable at all costs. But the soul does not need to resist the pain. The soul does not resist what is uncomfortable. The soul actually leans into those knots. The soul is actually infinitely patient, infinitely calm, at peace and centered, anchored and wise. And those qualities will assist us to untangle our own knotted consciousness. That's why that's why I am obsessed with the study and the practice of spiritual psychology, including the practice of the ancient, ageless wisdom teachings, and bring that to the study of psychology, because the soul is the most overlooked aspect of our being. And it is the soul of us, the higher self, the higher energy, the higher frequency, the higher vibration. You can call it your higher self. You can call it your spirit, your soul, whatever you call it. It is the place that is transcendent, that is expanded, that is connected to the flow of life, that is wise, that has clarity, that is authentic. It's your authenticity. So these qualities of wisdom and patience and expansion and peace and calm are the very qualities we want to bring to the places inside of us that are experiencing this knotted, tangled, uncomfortable emotions and energy. So just like a knot that might be in a fine necklace, if you can imagine a very fine necklace that is delicate and fragile, the more you try to hurry that process and untangle that knot, the more impatient energy you bring to untangling a knot in a fine piece of jewelry, the more you will actually tighten the knot. So the first part of learning how to move from darkness to light feels counterintuitive. It feels antithetical to what we would imagine it would be. The first thing is to relax into the darkness. We think we're trying to resist the darkness, move away from the darkness because it doesn't feel good. But the first part that is counterintuitive is to relax into the darkness. If you do have a knot in a fine piece of jewelry, in a fine chain, you will find that the more patience you bring, the more relaxed you are, the easier you will untangle that knot. The same goes for our own inner knots in consciousness, our own inner darkness. So we've been taught to avoid, we've been taught to resist, we've been taught to fix at all costs and fix quickly. So I'm here to say that the first step is to be gentle, to be patient, to be accepting, to relax into the darkness, to relax into your nervous system, to say, I'm right here. I see that you're feeling dark. I feel that you're experiencing intense emotions. I'm right here. Tell me all about it. I really want to know. I really want to hear. I'm really interested. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. And you will feel, by sharing those phrases with yourself, your nervous system will begin to relax. And perhaps if you're even listening, trying on those phrases right now with yourself, so you think of whatever challenge you're moving through in your life, just begin to say to yourself, I see that you're experiencing darkness. I'm with you. I want to hear more about it. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. Tell me all about it. I want to hear. Your darkness is safe in my heart. Your darkness, your feelings, your emotions, you're safe in my heart. You're safe. You're embraced. You're supported. You're accepted exactly as you are. I know when I was growing up, I grew up in a less than functional family. I grew up in a pretty dysfunctional family. We had dysfunctional family dynamics. And so I experienced the feeling of darkness, feeling of disconnection. I longed for emotional connection, but my experience was one of feeling disconnected, feeling emotionally alone, emotionally in the dark, neglected, cut off from, alone, isolated, like an island. There was a lot of triangulation. If you did or said the wrong thing, you would be the one that was cut off. So I was always trying to make sure that I said the right thing or I showed up in the right way. I didn't say the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong person. Because if I did, I never knew, would it be that thing that I said or did that I would then experience the experience of feeling cut off, of feeling disconnected, of feeling that the relationship was threatened, the love was threatened. There was never a security around, I will be loved in the midst of, in spite of. And that created the feeling and the experience inside of me of like a landmine, never knowing if I was going to say or do the right or wrong thing. There was a lot of dysfunction and feelings and experiences of darkness. In the midst of the very darkness and aloneness and abandonment that I often felt, deep, deep, deep down there, I could always feel there's got to be a better way. There must be a different way. I could see that something greater was possible. I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know how to create it and how to manifest it, but I knew deep in my heart of hearts, there was health, there was well-being. I wasn't experiencing it, but I knew it was possible. I always could feel that something more was possible. I always could feel this flicker of light. It often felt very elusive to me. It would come and go, and it was just a flicker. That's why I'm calling today's episode From Flicker to Flame. That has been my personal life journey. From these elusive moments of finding the light, finding that flicker and following the flicker, to finally living in a full-on flame of light in my life. But when I was young, it felt very dark. I could feel that flicker of light. Deep down, I knew that there was light there. And we all have that. You have that right now in the midst of whatever challenge that you are using as an example in this episode. Whatever challenge you're moving through, whatever issue you're moving through, whatever darkness or intense emotionality that you are moving through, intense emotions and energy that you are moving through, right there in the midst of it, it may feel elusive, but deep down within you, you know that there is light there. It may be elusive. You might not feel connected to it right now, but deep down, if you can get quiet enough and still enough, your intuition, your higher self, your soul is residing in the light right now. There is an aspect of your being, spirit part of you, the higher part of you, the higher self that is not touched by this darkness. You know that the light is there. So just take a moment right now, whatever challenge you're moving through, whatever example you're working with right now as I'm speaking, just begin to be willing to be aware that within you right now, within the very midst of that situation, your intuition, your inner knowing knows, deep down, you know, there's a flicker of light. There is a flicker of light. And all we have to do is follow the light, follow the flicker, follow the light, follow the flicker, follow that flame. My life has been a series of following that flicker, following that light, following that flame. So at first, early on, I felt very immersed in that neglect, emotional disconnection that I was describing to you. I experienced a sense that my worth came from my doing, not from who I was. It was how well I played the piano, how many piano contests I won, what grades I got, how many A's I got. The message that I perceived was that my worth came from my doing. I didn't feel seen as the sensitive soul that I was and am. I'm a very sensitive soul. And I didn't feel seen and valued and accepted for the sensitive soul that I am. I'm a feeler, and my mom was a thinker. I'm a feeler, and my mom was intellectual, mental, like brilliant woman and an amazing woman. And I'm more of a feeler, and she was more of a thinker. I'm of the heart, she was of the mind. And so I felt that we were a mismatch. Doesn't mean we were a mismatch. It's just I felt that we were a mismatch. And therefore, I felt, well, something must be wrong with me because she's this incredible, brilliant, genius, intellectual, smart woman. And I'm this sensitive, feeling, wise, soulful, connected to this energy. And I felt that there was a mismatch and therefore something was wrong with me. And after working with thousands of clients and students, I can tell you that that is what is universal. All of our experiences may be unique and different, but typically as children, the takeaway from those experiences, something must be wrong with me. I must not be enough. I must not be worthy. I must be a burden. I'm a mistake. I'm not worthy. I'm not divine. I must be crazy. I must be a mistake. So we take this on that something is wrong with us. Can you relate to that? Is there some way that perhaps you even still to this day hold, oh, something's wrong with you that needs to be fixed? I felt like a burden, like a mistake. Something was wrong with me. Perhaps you have your own recipe for how it shows up in your consciousness. So as I'm speaking, I want you to begin to identify it, connect to it, and connect also that in the midst of that darkness, there is a place inside of you that does see a flicker of light. I know from the time I was 9 years old, I so deeply, so desperately wanted to go to therapy as a family. Really wanted to go to therapy as a family because why? Because I could see there's something possible for our family that we are not able to manifest. We're not able to experience, but I knew that something was possible. I really wanted to go to therapy as a family. I used to ask my mom, when I was 9 years old, can we please go to therapy? And we did go to therapy. We went to therapy one time and one time only. And we went to therapy, and I can remember to this day as if it was yesterday, sitting in this therapist's office, and I felt like it was oxygen to that little flicker of flame. I felt safe. I felt seen. I felt heard. There was no judgment. There was no criticism. We were just each went around sharing our own experience. To me, it was a lifeline. To me, it was oxygen to that light. I left there feeling so expanded, so connected, so good. I felt a connection to a sense of well-being and health that I had been longing for. And then we got into the car. And so I'm asking everyone, wasn't that amazing? Wasn't that great? What was your experience? And my mom, God love my mom, was of the generation, well, I'm not going to go in and share all that with a perfect stranger. My mom did not feel safe to share the parts of herself that were dark and probably very hurt. And she didn't feel comfortable sharing that with someone. So we never went back to therapy. We went once and once only. But I remember the feeling, probably why I'm a therapist right now. The feeling was my connection to a sense of well-being, that environment and atmosphere of safety. So that was one way of following the flicker, following the light. I knew I wanted to go to therapy. I asked to go to therapy. I gave myself the experience of therapy. I was a little girl. I didn't get to manifest it more than once, but that has stayed with me. I knew a journal could be a place to share my feelings, to unload my feelings, to let out my feelings. My experience wasn't necessarily safe, but I knew journaling could be safe. It was another moment of following that flicker of light, that flicker of light. So that was when I was 9, 12. I started journaling when I was probably about 12. been journaling ever since. And when I was 16, I learned to meditate. I became obsessed with how to connect the mind, body, and spirit. And this was before it was very trendy. My first foray into meditation was transcendental meditation, then Vipassana meditation. I learned to meditate and I've been a meditator ever since then. So what I'm showing you are in the midst of a lot of darkness and dysfunction, I followed these little flickers of light. Go to therapy, write in a journal, learn to meditate. And I became an avid meditator. And to this day, I try to meditate twice a day. It's a part of my spiritual practice. It's a part of my way of life. I really learned about the connection to the inner child. I'm obsessed and a big advocate of how to create a really intimate, healed, connected, reparative connection with the inner child. And lastly, my sister, who was 17 years older than me, when I was probably about maybe 16, maybe 18, she gave me the book, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And that book, just the title alone, You Can Heal Your Life, it was a lifeline for me. It was a key that helped me open the prison door. And so through therapy, journaling, learning to meditate, these little flickers, and then You Can Heal Your Life, I created a tipping point in my life. All of these small flickers, I'm following the light, I'm following the flame, I'm following the light, I'm following the flame. As you galvanize them, as they became more of a way of life, it created a tipping point. And at some point, the light became larger than the darkness. It didn't mean the darkness was gone, and it doesn't mean the darkness is gone to this day. We all experience darkness. We all experience intense emotions, uncomfortable emotions. It's part of life. Pain is a part of life. But there was a tipping point that happened where I entered and experienced as much light, if not more light. There was a tipping point. I was moving on a bridge from the darkness, and I began to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Oh, I see this plus this is becoming a way of life. And I'm beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that light now is so attractive, so compelling that I'm beginning to feel very immersed in the light. And you too will create a tipping point in your life. If you follow the flicker, follow the light, this intuition within me was telling me, go to therapy, get a journal, learn to meditate, read these books about growth and mysticism and wisdom. And I became obsessed. I immersed myself in wisdom teachings and healing and personal growth and transformation. And each one of these steps of moving to the light eventually put me into a way of life that is a way of light. I immersed myself in enough light. So you're on the bridge, and as you follow the flames, you create a tipping point that you are moving into more and more and more of the light. So it isn't totally dark, but it isn't fully light yet. That's when you're on the bridge and you keep following the flame. Your intuition will guide you one after another after another. So I want you to ask yourself right now, let your intuition speak to you right now. What is that next light that you are to follow? What is the next light that is calling you? See that next little flicker of light. Follow that next little flicker of light. Ask yourself, what is next? What am I to follow? What am I to move towards? You don't deny that you're in the darkness, but you're willing to move to the light. I'm moving to the light. And so this is how you learn to usher yourself over the bridge. You follow the flicker, you follow the light. Each time you follow the flicker, it gains oxygen. And the more oxygen you put on a flicker, the more it becomes a flame. The more oxygen, the more flame. So I want you to ask yourself right now, what is the flicker of light that I can follow? I can't pretend that I'm not in the darkness, But what is the flicker of light that I can follow? What is the oxygen that I need right now to cross over that bridge? Do I need to be kinder to myself? Do I need to be more patient? Do I need to spend more time quietly with myself? Do I need to learn to meditate? Do I need to call a friend, go to therapy? Do I need to take a walk in nature? If I am here to usher myself over that bridge, what do I need in order to hold my own hand, in order to support myself walking over that bridge? I personally needed to learn how to love myself. I needed to learn how to be a safe space for myself. I needed to learn the healing power of self-compassion, self-acceptance. I needed to learn how to speak up for myself. I needed to learn to become fully self-expressed, even if other people got upset with me. That was a huge learning for me, to learn to express myself, even if judgment would come back at me, criticism would come back at me, the other person, because I used to be so afraid of being abandoned. So I needed to learn to self-express and say to myself, I will not abandon myself. No matter what someone else does or says, I will not abandon myself. And when I said that to myself enough times, and when I stayed in self-support rather than self-abandonment, and when I learned to self-honor myself and self-respect and self-accept rather than self-judge and self-criticize and self-shame, as I learned that, I created an experience of moving from the dark into the light, because it feels good to be fully self-expressed. It feels good to accept yourself exactly as you are. I had to learn personally how to be true to my own values. I had to learn personally how to stop being loyal to my mom's value system. She had her own value system, and that was wonderful. I needed to learn how to take personal responsibility for my values, for my life, and for my life's experience, and to be willing to bear the consequences of mistakes and stumbles and challenges. I needed to learn how to be loyal and to be true to myself, my authenticity, and the life that I am here to live in only the way that I can live it. So what is it that you need to learn? What is it that is here for you? What are the opportunities that are here for you in the midst of your seeming darkness, challenge, conflict that you are moving through right now? Right in the midst, you are here to learn XYZ. You are here to experience something. Ask yourself, what is it that is here for me? What is it that is calling me to go to my next stage of evolution, to go to my next stage of personal growth and expansion and transformation? What is here for me? What is next for me? What is calling me? On the physical level, what is calling me? What would create a tipping point for me? What would create a tipping point where I am walking myself, ushering myself over that bridge into my own light? On the physical level, I had been brought up playing the piano, and the winning of piano competitions was what I thought would get me my mom's love. And so I needed to quit playing piano for her and learn to start playing piano for me. I needed to learn how to have my own relationship with music, how to have my own relationship with the piano. And then I got a master's degree in spiritual psychology. I found spiritual psychology found me, and I followed that path. I followed that light. I was true to the path that was within me, even in the midst of my family not remotely understanding my choice. And that was a big deal for me, to make my own choice, even when my family didn't understand or agree with my choice. When I went to get my master's in spiritual psychology, it was kind of the same thing. It was like, I don't agree with this, so I don't support it. I don't support it emotionally, but I also don't support it financially. So I experienced the feeling of not being supported, and I needed to learn to follow my own intuition, to follow my own destiny, my own dharma, my own soul's path, regardless of whether I'm supported or not supported externally by the people I love. And that was a challenge for me at the time. And I needed to learn that. I needed to be on that path. And what has it done for me? It has brought me to a full on living in a flame and a light of my life right now. My family didn't necessarily understand, and my family doesn't really understand to this day. And that's okay. What is calling you? What is your tipping point? What might you be called to be true to in your authentic life, on your authentic soul's path that maybe someone else around you doesn't really understand? And can you be so self-supportive that it's okay that another person doesn't understand? It's really okay that my mom, she had a vision of what she thought would be best for my life, because ultimately she just wanted me to thrive in my life. And she thought I needed to do it in a certain kind of a way. And that's fine. I needed to learn how to be true to my own path in life. What is it that you are needing to learn? What courage are you needing to activate within you? What risks might you need to be taking in your life? What is calling you to be authentically you? What would bring more oxygen to a little flicker of light in your life right now? What would create a full on flame in your life right now? I needed to follow my own path. I needed to give myself permission to be authentically Suzi Lula, Suzi Kessler at the time. And now I am using every single bit of the darkness that I have ever experienced for my life's purpose, and you will too. What I can promise you absolutely is that this universe will use every bit of darkness that you have ever moved through, because you will take the learning from the darkness. You will take the learning, you will take the lessons, you will take the growth, you will take the transformation. I don't bring the darkness with me. I bring the learnings that I experienced from the darkness. I learned how to love myself, have self-compassion, accept myself. I learned how to create a safe inner environment. I learned how to take responsibility for my life. I learned to be true to myself. I learned to be authentic to who I am here to be. I learned to accept myself exactly as I am. These are learnings that I took from the darkness. So I don't bring the darkness with me. I don't bring my past experiences with me. I bring the learnings that I got, the insights. I bring the value that I got from the darkness. And now I live in this light because the universe will help you use your darkness for your life's purpose. All of that has been invaluable to me where I've raised my son. I learned how to break generational patterns and allow the authentic mom in me to come out. I saw the ways early on that I was carrying on generational darkness, and I learned to break those generational patterns and allow the authentic mom that I was here to be to come out to raise my son. Do you see? It wasn't easy, but I birthed the authentic me, the authentic mom within me. And the universe has used every bit of my darkness. As a therapist, I can sit in front of any client. There is not a client that has ever sat in front of me that I am not certain that if I can heal, you can heal. And I think it's why I'm such a good therapist and such a good teacher, and the courses that I teach and the spiral of transformation and my certification, because I know the process of moving from dark to light. I know the process of thinking that something was dramatically wrong with me and moving into a consciousness of wholeness where I know that I am enough exactly as I am. If I can heal my life, I know that you can heal your life. And whatever it is that you are moving through, I know that you can transform it. And the universe has used all of my darkness to bring me these gifts of sitting in front of clients, sitting in front of students, sitting before my husband, sitting before my son. I just use all that I have learned. I understand compassion now. I understand healing and transformation. I understand human suffering. I understand the healing process from the inside out. So no one can sit in front of me and say they can't heal. If I can do it, you can do it. I understand suffering. I understand transformation. I understand it because I've lived it from the inside out. So you too are being called to move from small little flickers into a full-on flame, and the universe will use every little bit of the darkness. I don't wish for my past life to be different in any regard, and I used to wish it was different. Now I accept because I see that the universe has actually used what I have gained from the darkness. It's used every bit of it into my soul's purpose right now. And the universe will use every single one of your life experiences. It will use every single experience of darkness and discomfort and pain, and it will alchemize it and help you galvanize it into that light, which will then serve you. And then it will allow you to be that light for others in your life. From my feelings and experiences of emotional disconnection with my mom to my uber ultra sensitivity and everything in between, the universe is using it all for my purpose. And the universe will use every bit of what is going on in your life to not only heal you, but for you to then be a light for others in your life. Who are you when you stand in the full-on flame of your life? When you really allow yourself to stand in and embody the light that you are without pushing away the darkness, but by ushering yourself over that bridge from the darkness into the light? Who are you when you allow yourself to stand in that fullness, in that brightness that you know yourself to be? We are also taught to hide our light, to dim our light. Who are you when you accept all of your light, embody your light, give yourself permission to shine your light and breathe oxygen onto the flame of your life? Who are you when you support your light and you support your gifts and you support every learning, every experience that has brought you to this day? When you celebrate it, when you support it, when you acknowledge it, when you appreciate it, it expands. Who are you when you bring the all of you into your life right now? This is what I want you to contemplate this week until we come back next week for another episode. Contemplate, how are you called to usher yourself over this bridge from your own darkness to your own light, and use every little bit of this flicker and this flicker and this flicker until you create an inner tipping point and create a full on, full out flame for yourself to live in the light of your own consciousness, the light of your own awareness, the light of your own authenticity. I hope you will take on this challenge because you are here to usher yourself into your own authentic state of light. I hope that this episode is supportive for you. I hope that you have many takeaways. I love hearing your takeaways. Please write your takeaways in your journal. Email them to me, DM me, let me know. I love hearing your takeaways, and I also love hearing your questions. If you have episode topics that you'd like to see me do, if you have questions you'd like to hear me answer, please send them to me. And if this episode has been helpful to you, please consider sharing it with a friend. Please consider leaving a 5-star review. You have no idea how helpful those reviews are. Plus, they just touch me to see who is listening and what are your takeaways and what are you receiving. If you subscribe, you will always be notified of new episodes. I'm so grateful for you allowing me into your hearts and onto your journey. So much love, so much light to you, and give yourself permission to thrive this week. Until next week, much love, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If there was something in this conversation that spoke to you, We'd so appreciate it if you would take the time to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share this episode with women and mothers you know, because you are here to thrive. See you next time.